Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Sammons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Gretchen Castellane. Did I say that correct?
De Castellane.
Sorry. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Gretchen de Castellane, a transformational coach, leadership mentor, and founder of Rite of Passage Coaching, where she helps leaders and high performers navigate major transitions, clarify purpose, and embody leadership presence with confidence and intention. Gretchen's approach combines inner identity work with practical performance outcomes so people can move beyond reactive responses and step into intentional transformations that support both personal and professional growth. Gretchen, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about yourself and your journey today. So,
yes.
Gretchen, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Rite of Passage Coaching, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yes. Well, I spent 20 plus years as a creative leader for the world's premier toy company, which is Mattel, home to Barbie, Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Polly Pocket, and it was such a blessing and an incredible journey. And I really learned there what it is to become a leader and cut my teeth as a leader. And, you know, I had all that amazing experience on paper, the title, the impact, the recognition. But what was happening on the inside is I was secretly burning out and scrambling for more energy, scrambling for more of myself to give, and really just in a deficit. And I learned that I was not the only one. I learned that my peers and colleagues across the industries, not just at Mattel, but across all industries in leadership roles, were really experiencing high-level burnout, but there was so much shame and fear around it. We weren't even talking to each other about it. So I took it upon myself to go on my own journey to really uncover that and find another way to operate as a leader, put myself through training as a coach while also driving this high intensity career, hoping it would shape me as a better leader and maybe empower me to mentor others to maybe make adjustments and different decisions. And it took some time for me to really realize the core of my burnout was really that I wasn't owning my true congruent self, and that I was manufacturing a facade that I felt like everybody needed. So I was so busy serving and pleasing other people, I was leaving my true self completely behind.
Yeah, and I feel like when that happens, naturally burnout will hit you in one way or the other
Yes.
because like without that drive and passion, it's very hard to keep going at something that is not actually fulfilling for yourself.
Yes.
And even not defining your definition of success, you know? So like often when it does come to like leadership roles, especially within the corporate setup, you know, it's kind of a behemoth for burnout. But it is that sense as well that you've been thrown into a role, you have to keep up with that job you obviously had beforehand. And then the leadership on top of that isn't an easy step for people, especially if you haven't been
Yeah.
trained on how to manage a team. And again, that will just add to the overwhelm coming into anything.
You are spot on. Spot on. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So let's dive into the business a little bit more. So when it comes to rite of passage coaching, at this point in Gretchen, who would you say like is your ideal customer? And then from there, how is it you help them and how would you support them along their own journey?
Yeah. So right now I'm really focusing on seasoned women leaders who are literally in the throes of burnout and they might not even be naming it, right? They are constantly looking for ways to push harder. Maybe they're even wondering if they need to step back. But it's really women leaders who have an incredible journey already, success. They look successful on paper, but they know there has to be another way that
Yeah.
is more aligned, more in tune, and they feel a rumble inside them that they can't quite name. And so that's who I work with. I help them name it. And it ends up, they come to me to perform higher, which I give them. They come to me for more flow state, which I give them. But what they don't realize is that what they're really looking for is reconnecting with their soul and leading from their soul, which actually begets more energy, more impact. And oftentimes it's a role shift. And a lot of times it's an expanded role, right? When they thought they were in such burnout, they couldn't even think of taking on more. They're actually able to take on more naturally because they're more congruent. And like you mentioned earlier, they have access to like that infinite energy.
Hmm.
So there's more ease there, less facade, less F's to
Yeah.
give, if I can say. And they're more sustained. Yeah.
Yeah, I fully understand where you're coming from. As you say, it's like the underlying message that everyone says within fitness, you need the discipline as well as the motivation. But
Yes.
when you have that purpose-driven gut feeling, like you're talking about there, that like energy that comes from depth, it's just natural motivation every time to just get up and do a good job because you are fulfilling that purpose for yourself. And it's when you have that purpose for yourself laid out in front of you, everything else tends to come good. As you're saying,
Yeah.
like business will thrive, like even if it's work, relationships will thrive. And it's just
Yeah.
doing that work for yourself. What would you say is like the first initial spark or challenge that these women tend to come to you with, even though it may be burnout? Is there like an underlying kind of sense of something else as well?
Yeah. It's an unnamed identity crisis.
Okay.
Um, it's unnamed, right? Because if they have to face the identity crisis they're probably living, that means like their whole construct could change. And so they stay away from it because they're kind of catastrophizing. Oh my gosh, what might this mean? Who am I without my title? What if they find out I'm an
Yeah.
imposter? Like all those things come up. And so they overcompensate with productivity. But they
Yeah.
eventually hit that moment, that wall where it's just not hitting and it's not working. And maybe that wall landed them in the ER, or maybe that wall landed them, in a mistake that was costly.
Yeah.
But they're going to hit that wall, and usually they see the wall coming. And they think that hiring a coach will kind of give them the path. They want the path, and I have a path. I lead them through the hero's journey. That's the construct. So they get a path. But what they don't realize is that it's a path back home, the
Yeah.
place that they were afraid to visit. But having somebody walking hand in hand gives you that courage to be witnessed and to seek that vulnerability and kind of pull the sword from the stone. Going to your
Yeah.
deepest vulnerability is where your deepest strength, your deepest courage is. And you can absolutely do it with a well trained coach who is serving in your highest, best good.
100%. They give you, as you say, it's almost like the peace and comfort in the surroundings you're in as well. Sometimes it is just to
Yes.
allow you to open up because there is a big mindset shift I'm imagining before you've got that path laid out to them because they have to discover what that path looks like or even what the treasure is at the end of the rainbow. So it is, I'm
100%.
assuming, a lot to unlock. And with that being said, like how do you go about acquiring your customers? Because I'm assuming not a lot of women will be ready to take that big step or even
Yeah.
aware that they need to do that. So like how do you go about like getting your message out there? Like, and I say finding those right people to work with, like what channels or methods are you finding most effective?
Yeah. So, number one is good old fashioned networking. And referrals. So, there's a lot of talk out there that you just need, maybe you need a digital presence, maybe you don't need a digital presence, but there's a lot of binary talk like that you only need to do this. I have found for me when it comes to this deep work, that I need both.
Yeah.
Because sometimes women just want to lurk and watch my Wisdom Wednesday videos and not engage and just accrue them and just earmark, I'm probably going to work with Gretchen one day. And some women hunt me down at a networking event and they're like, okay, when can we get started? So, really being, remembering what it was like myself when I was walking those places looking to make myself available in those spots, right? And what my client is often doing is hiding in public. So I go
Right.
to those public places and create a magnetic container of safety.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds really strange, but that's where I've been able to get the most success in getting my clients. Referrals, obviously. Big one is referrals. That's almost easy. And I think any business has a referral system, but networking helps build that out.
Yeah. 100% network. And I feel like referrals and networking do kind of come hand in hand because it is
Yeah,
that they kind of know your service already. So they are, I think a lot of business owners wish they could live on referrals. It's a very nice feeling.
totally.
But yes, I understand what you're saying as well with the social media aspect. I often feel you need to have several like forms of lead generation
Yes.
just to bring more eyes to yourself. You need
Yeah.
consistency when you are looking to grow. Unfortunately, it's a business at the end of the day, so that needs to kind
Yep.
of come into consideration as well. So when it does come to social media, do you run any form of advertisements or anything, maybe just to hit a wider audience, or is it very much within your ecosystem,
Yeah.
more of an organic approach?
It's more organic right now. And I know this is probably going to be a question that comes soon. So I'm going to go ahead and answer it in full
Okay.
candor. You know, the challenge that I have right now is I'm very comfortable with,
Right.
if I were to, I'm going to be very candid. I'm very comfortable with my referrals and my network and
Yeah.
my current organic content. And what's next for me is one, refining my signal. It's a requirement, and I'm in the throes of like, oh, it's here. I have to do it. I have to refine my signal because what I'm recognizing, and I can feel it, is that there are so many women right now looking for someone specifically like me, and they don't think she exists. And it's because my signal hasn't been sharpened quite enough for her to see, which does mean that I'm probably going to have to cast a wider net in
Yeah.
advertising in order to place that signal on her lap at 3 a.m. when she's worried
Right.
about her boardroom presentation the next day. So
Right.
that's I had to get that out in full transparency because that's what's next, and I can feel her. I can feel her right now, like
Yeah.
wondering where the heck I am. And
Yeah.
this is where they say you get in your own way. I've
Yeah.
allowed comfort to literally get in my own way and her way of being able to be in this container.
Yeah. And I think comfort is one of those biggest challenges for
Yes.
entrepreneurs because as you say, comfortable is the place you want to be. And that next step, and it brings in a lot of fear. Can you take those next steps? Again, it comes back to that imposter syndrome, like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
All that kind of comes into play when you're living in that fear state. But you need to amplify that message. And 100%, like for me, there's always that big debate as well over organic or paid ads. And I'm like, they
Yeah.
both do the same job. One just
They do.
in the person that may have never seen you before. As you say, using the signal is a great one. And it's like putting 5G pillars up all around the world just
Yeah.
to get your message to people that won't know who you are.
Yeah.
You're not a shop front, they're not going to walk past.
It's true.
It's a big challenge for a lot. And obviously with all that being said, like what are your ambitions for the business? Like what is the vision you have moving forward? If you think to the next 6 to 12 months, like what is the
Yes.
goal that you're working hard towards at the moment?
Yeah. So I'm pushing myself out of my comfort zone. I love my one-on-one coaching. I love it so much. And I love my group workshops. I love them so much. So I'm going to continue doing those. But the next big move is I'm currently building a leadership program
Okay.
called Rising Phoenix, and it is for women. And I'm building it's going to be a carefully curated community that I assemble of women who want to build relationship with each other and witness each other, burning away the BS, burning away the structure that they thought would get them to the next level. It got them where they are today. And those are great tools to have. But now it's time to bring forward more, frankly, conscious, softer tools as
Yeah.
well, right? So, like I often say, sometimes it sounds like feminine energy coming up. A lot of my clients have been living in their masculine, which is structure, fixing, problem solving, diagnosing, getting after it, push, push, push. What I'm talking about is more of the open space pull
Yes.
and weaving through things. And I know these are soft words, but they actually are more powerful when you combine them with the masculine structure form. Think of it
100%.
as a river cuts through mountains. And that's sort of the metaphor. And so this is a program that is really about how do you embody the trust again to your intuition. I have clients who literally carved out a new role in their company because they listened to their intuition. One of them pulled angel cards, right? I don't teach that, but that was like her version. And
Yeah.
so it's really about embodying that feminine energy, but not only feminine. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, I can do this. Now, how do I translate it to bring it to the boardroom, to inform my impact? And it
Hmm.
actually helps increase scale. If you want scale, that's feminine energy all
100.
day.
Yeah. And oh my God, I lost my point. I had such a good. Oh man, my mind went blank. No, I love that exactly what you just said. And I actually was listening to a podcast that Tony Robbins did the other day and was talking about exactly the same motivation. It is that
Yeah.
that push and pull, and you have that fine balance between the two. And it's what I love most about this work and this journey that you're helping your clients with is that it's so personalized. You know,
Yes.
as you're saying about the angel cards and making that effect for yourself, you are putting yourself at the center of the universe and not in an egotistical way, in a way that is
Yeah.
going to benefit yourself and everyone else around you. You know, you're keeping your cup full, but you're pulling that motivation so you have a reason to keep drawing that river in and keep going and driving.
Yeah.
And 100%, I love
Yeah.
that. And one final question to you, Gretchen, before we log out. So,
Yeah.
if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
Mm. Okay. I would say this. I would say that it is okay to turn my power on. It is okay. And it's actually necessary to own and claim my power. And that word alone, right? I used to hide it in personal power or
Mm.
empowerment or that's powerful. But to really just own power as source energy for me and to trust myself to use it with great love, with great responsibility. And I won't know how I use it until I turn it on. And I've only just recently fully turned those lights on. And I really, 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 really wish, of course, and I say this in a loving way, that's what my wish would be, is to turn my power on sooner and to trust myself to do good with that great power.
I love that. And what a great way to end the podcast, Gretchen. Thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do so?
On LinkedIn, that's one of the best ways to connect with me, whether it's in the comments, the DMs, or also there's all my contact information. You can also find me on Instagram, but LinkedIn is where I'm most active. And then if you're ready, if you already know I'm your gal, then go to riteofpassagecoaching.com and it will lead you to getting ready to enroll in one of my many adventures that I have to offer.
Love it. Amazing. And thank you again, Gretchen. I really appreciate your time with me today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please be sure to go and check out Gretchen, as she just said, Rite of Passage Coaching. Drop her a message. I'm sure she would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.